All right, let's start off the good stuff. This was my trip to Sun Peaks. Check out some of the highlights. Let's check it out. Yeah. Dead center. So the easy stat is it is the second biggest ski resort in Canada. It's a place that has 3 mountains. The mountains is Sundance, Todd Mountain, and Mount Morrissey, and that spreads people out a lot. The next thing is the amount of intermediate terrain. And if you're an advanced skier or snowboarder and you're like, oh, intermediate terrain, who wants that? It's like, I do. It's so good. It means they have so many groomer runs and there are a lot of wide ones, which brings the majority of people onto those runs because it's not that crowded because they're spread out through the mountain. So that leaves the better terrain, the more narrow stuff, the treed stuff to be available for the advanced skier or the advanced snowboarder. And they didn't even forget about the beginners. In fact, they focus a lot on the beginners and the beginner intermediates. At the base of the mountain by the village there, they have a zone that has the magic carpets. Even the non-skiers have like a tube park area. They say they have, I think, 60% blue runs, but within that blue run zone, like any mountain, there's the easy blue, there's the light blue, and there's the dark blue. And there's a really nice progression in that zone. They actually don't have a ton of green runs, but the ones they do have are specifically focused on the absolute beginner and keeping those absolute beginners with their instructors on those zones. Again, freeing up the rest of the mountain for the advanced intermediates, the intermediates, and freeing even more of the mountain up for the advanced expert pros. And so what I did is I took the main Sundance chair up and then I headed over to what was called the crystal bowl. So I took the crystal chair up and then hit this bowl, and it'd been a few days since it had some snow, but it was still soft. It was still easy to ski through. Yeah, so I was just lapping on the crystal bowl. It was so much fun, so amazing. When I was there, they actually didn't have a lift in the West Bowl, but now they do. And I'm really excited to check that out. I was peeking over that way basically the whole time I was in Crystal Bowl. Every time I got to the top of that lift, I was peeking over the edge just to see this really moderate powdery terrain that I think a lot of people would really enjoy. It'd be a great introduction to kind of off-piste type skiing for the intermediate skier. From the top of the crystal chair, I could see that there was some hiking trails to, I think, Gills is what they call it. And it's a place where you can drop in anywhere along there. So on a powder day, that's the spot to go if you got some time, energy, and fitness. So the next thing I love about the way they've set up Sun Peaks is the village, because you have everything you need up there. They got a really cool like local grocery store that has like pre-made meals. I love going to it. I just absolutely love being in there. In that same little stretch, there's like axe throwing, there's a little bar and a restaurant, and that's kind of down the way. But if you're right in the village, if you're right in that pedestrian-only walkway, you're gonna find all the amenities you need for a ski vacation. So having that incredible amount of on-hill accommodation also helps with the crowds there, because a lot of people are gonna be staying on hill, and it's what I would recommend if you're ever going to Sun Peaks, is to stay on hill. Obviously it gets more pricey as you're closer to the base of the chair, just like Whistler, but even if you're at the furthest back room in the last building, which might be Nancy Green, you're still 5 minutes away from the base of the mountain. In Whistler, if you're in the very back of the village, you're taking a bus to get to the base of the hill. All the accommodation on hill is very accessible to all the lifts. And because Mount Morrissey is kind of on the back there, and they have Todd Mountain and Sundance packed together. Those are kind of the main ones. Those are kind of the Whistler Blackcomb of Sun Peaks. Mount Morrissey is on the other side of the village. So even if you're staying at the other end of the village, you got easy access to Mount Morrissey for skiing and all the cross-country terrain. So it might actually be what you prefer. So this trip was at the end of my road trip, and I am a new father. I am out of shape. And I had just skied, I think, 3 days at Pano, 2 days at Kicking Horse, 1 day at Revelstoke, and then I'm coming here. And when I built my itinerary for this trip, I had Sun Peaks at this spot because I was excited for the intermediate terrain and everything, but they asked me if I would want to do any other activities besides skiing or snowboarding, and I was like, yeah, sure, like, let's do cross-country skiing, which I just don't do. I'm okay at it, but I have to be fresh. I was not, and I felt so bad for the guy that set me up with this incredible guy that was like gonna show me all the cross-country trails, and I felt really bad and quite embarrassed that I even dragged him out to tour me around. The other really cool thing I got to experience is the ice skating rink, and it's exposed, so it's kind of an outdoor rink, but it's got like a roof over it so it doesn't get all the snow or anything on it, and it's protected from the wind. As somebody that was a hockey goalie for a lot of years, like, to get on the ice is always so much fun and such a cool experience for me, and something I want to experience with my kids too. And if you're a family, or if you're somebody that does skate or used to play hockey, it's such a cool experience to have right in the village. Yeah, so who should be skiing at this resort? I absolutely think it's a resort for anybody, but especially if you're anywhere near the intermediate level, which most people are, even if we pretend we're not. It is very fun to be spread out on a mountain and hit up a lot of intermediate terrain. So this place has, I think, like 60% of their runs being intermediate, which means a lot of groomed or lightly moguled, wider runs, and that just contributes to an incredible experience. And so way less likely to be like running into crowds, running into people that are gonna be like getting in your way. So spectacular mountain. But next time I go there, I want to, as an advanced skier, I want to do Gills when I get a little more time. I want to do a little more of Mount Morrissey. I want to check out so much more. There's so much more to do here. And that's the great thing about it. If you go to this place once, you're going to be hungry for the next time you go there. The one thing about Sun Peaks is it is pretty isolated from other resorts. You're going there, you're going for Sun Peaks. And in that way, it's similar to Whistler. If you go to Whistler, you're there for Whistler. There's nowhere else you really want to go. So if you were to do Sun Peaks and wanted to do some other resorts around there, say you wanted a 3-resort trip in a week, I would recommend maybe doing Sun Peaks for a good chunk of it, and then getting down to maybe Silver Star down in Vernon, and then down to Big White, which is south of Kelowna. Well, it's kind of a reasonable trip. All right, so this video is probably longer than I wanted to make it. I've only been there twice, but I have nothing but amazing things to say about Sun Peaks. And it's one of those places that I know I'm gonna go back to more and more and more, and I'm gonna have more and more things to say about it. I'm gonna have different experiences when I bring the family there, when I bring friends to that place, and we're gonna explore different areas together and have more days. But just to be able to get out there and ski there 3 days, ruin one guy's morning because he had to tour me around on skis. I still can't believe it. Oh, poor guy. He had nothing in me. He's barely able to ski downhill. That was too funny. But overall, absolutely love Sun Peaks. I hope I can go back there again every year. It's truly one of the best all-around resorts I've ever been to, and I've been to a lot of resorts.